In this video, we're going to write equations to match graphs. So we're going to come up with our equation and then use decimals to graph it. And we want to make sure that our graph matches all 3 points that are marked in the picture that we have. Once we've created our graph in decimals, we're going to copy and paste the decimals link. So to write an equation, what I want to do is look at the x-intercepts. And I see here that my x-intercepts are -1, 0 and 3, 0. And so I can easily turn my x-intercepts into the factored form of the quadratic equation. So factored form is going to have 2 sets of parentheses, each one corresponding to one of these x-intercepts. So my 2 x-intercepts are -1 and +3. Now it would be easy for me to put x minus 1 and x plus 3 into the parentheses. But remember that I need to have the opposite sign in the parentheses. So that when I solve the equation, x plus whatever equals 0, my answer is -1. So the equation that I would solve, x plus 1 equals 0, would give me -1 for x, and x minus 3 equals 0 would give me 3 for x. So I always need to have the opposite sign in parentheses of the sign on my x-intercept x-coordinates. So here's an equation. I could go to decimals and try to graph that, and let's see what happens. Okay, so if we compare that to our graph in the picture, we can see that it's not quite right. I have the correct intercepts. I have the x-intercepts at -1 and 3, but the graph is upside down. And you might remember from an earlier activity that when we have a parabola that opens downward, that means that we have a negative sign in front of x squared. So when it's in factored form, the way that I can do this is I can put a negative sign in front of the first set of parentheses. So that would look like this. I could multiply these parentheses out if I wanted to, but you don't need to for this activity. So let's try and put a negative sign in front of that x plus 1. Okay, that flipped the graph upside down. So now, if I compare it to my picture, I see that I have -1, 0 for one x-intercept. I see that I have 3, 0 for a second x-intercept, and I see that I have the point 0, 3 for my y-intercept. And I can also see the vertex is 1, 4, which isn't marked in the picture, but it's good to know. So I'm going to copy and paste my decimals link. So going back to decimals here, remember to click on the Share Graph button on the top, and then click Copy in the box. And then go over here and I'm going to paste. But it's kind of in the way of my other graph, but that's okay. So my second graph is this one, where we have 0, 5, 1, 0, and 5, 0. Get rid of that. So identifying my x-intercepts here, I have an x-intercept at 1, 0 and an x-intercept at 5, 0. So in terms of my function, that would give me x minus 1 and x minus 5. So the opposite signs of those two x-coordinates. In this case, the parabola is opening upward, so I don't need a negative sign in front of the parentheses. Let's check and see if it worked. Okay, so comparing this graph to the picture, I should have a y-intercept at 0, 5. I should have an x-intercept at 1, 0 and another x-intercept at 5, 0. Looks like I made the correct graph, so I'm going to click on Share Graph, copy my link, and paste it over here. So For this assignment, you're going to have a different link with different letters for each graph.